Hey guys! So the war in Ukraine has been going on for 4 months now. The occupants are trying to capture territory and are wiping cities and villages from the face of the earth. The Ukrainian army is holding the defense and dealing devastating strikes to enemy positions. Perhaps many of you have heard about the Ukrainian army's successful operation near Bilokhorovka on Luganshina. The whole world is amazed by the effective Ukrainian military action resisting the Russian army's attempt to storm the Seversky Donets River. Despite the massive attack and the Russian attempt to cross the Seversky Donets River to Lugansk Oblast, the Ukrainian army held their position and also destroyed the pontoon ferries, in addition to many enemy soldiers, equipment, and armor. All the bridges across the river were previously destroyed, and the river is now an insurmountable obstacle in the path of the Russian army. A significant part of the front line runs along the Seversky Donets River. The American Institute of Military Research said in recent analysis that the scale of damage to the west of the Seversky Donets during attempts to cross it horrifies the Russian military, in addition to analytics and bloggers. More and more supporters of Russia are turning into critics of the Russian command. Unsurprisingly, the scale of the incompetency and the complete lack of tactical instinct from the Russian generals sending invading divisions to destroy well-organized Ukrainian soldiers bothers even the strongest supporters of the current aggression. How did Ukrainian artillery suppress all the enemy's attempts to bring pontoon ferries and destroy an unbelievable amount of enemy armor? The answer is fairly simple, and that's thanks to our soldiers using modern technology. Early in the invasion, many people were worried that the Russians would capture Ukraine in just a few days. But the Ukrainian army has put up intense resistance for 3 months. The war in Ukraine continues, and the invaders are taking heavy losses. This is because of the defenders' high morale, as well as the modern superweapon that the aggressor doesn't have. One such weapon is the GIS ARTA system. This Ukrainian-made system provides information on the position of Russian soldiers, providing connection with the Starlink satellite link, letting them deal serious blows to the Russian army. In just a minute after receiving a report on their position, the enemy may already be under fire. Unsurprisingly, the Kremlin is enraged and is threatening Elon Musk. The Starlink internet satellite system became a real gift for the Ukrainian army from Musk, especially considering its high price. The satellite connection is actively used by the army to communicate in hard-to-reach places where Starlink significantly improves the process. The system also helps the Ukrainian soldiers coordinate their drones and deal death to the enemy from the air while monitoring its movement. Overall, the connection and internet system in Ukraine has held out and is working stably. Nevertheless, in hotspots because of constant jammer action, this alternative communication system isn't just important, it's necessary. The Starlink system can handle this task according to the Telegraph. The automated command system GIS ARTA is called Uber for artillery by its creators. It combines information from drones, GPS, satellite images, topography maps, data on ammo in Ukrainian divisions, and is a very active tool for planning, management, and processing, and distributing the results of recon missions, providing rapid discovery and elimination of selected targets. The application was made by Ukrainian developers back in 2015, and the military welcomed it with open arms. Can you compare the system with Uber taxis? Yes, because this innovative system of situational awareness works using the same principle, where you order a ride that connects passengers to the nearest driver. The GIS ARTA system connects military targets with the nearest artillery, mortars, missile squadrons, or combat drones. When a scout division or drone patrolling a given area detects an enemy, It transmits that information to the system, like a passenger in the Uber app. After processing the data, the management system picks the optimal way to fire and informs the nearest artillery unit, mortar division, or drone about the target. As soon as command confirms the target, it will be destroyed by targeted fire within 30 seconds. Moreover, this shot, unlike the traditional one used by the Russian army, comes from various directions. Instead of firing standard artillery batteries placed together, the attack is more like a swarm of fire coming from every direction. Additionally, the ARTA GIS system can calculate when a round or missile from each division will hit its target and coordinate the attack from various positions, so they all hit their mark almost simultaneously. This significantly complicates a return attack from the Russians. The effectivity of the GIS ARTA system was confirmed by the recent operation at the Seversky Donets River. About 20 minutes after scouts confirmed a Russian pontoon bridge being set up, heavy artillery fired upon the Russian forces, and then aviation got involved. The enemy actively used smoke to hide its actions, but it didn't help. The occupants trying to cross the river were hit from above. After 2 days, the aggressor had lost about 80 pieces of armor. Based on the analysis of aerial photos, it was calculated that the Ukrainian army had destroyed 73 T-72 and T-80 tanks, IFVs, modern MTLB armored transports, boats, and other engineering equipment to make a pontoon ferry. They won't be able to cross again for a long time, and now there's doubt that they are even capable of it. The GIS ARTA system has worked outstandingly with both old, even Soviet 152mm artillery systems, as well as with modern 155mm NATO howitzers that were delivered by Ukrainians' Western partners. They are now being used more effectively on all areas of the front, destroying Russian tanks, IFVs, and artillery weapons. The US, Canada, and Australia have already sent Ukraine 155mm M777 towed howitzers over 100 units in number, with hundreds of thousands of rounds for them. You might think that sending normal cannons on wheels looks weak. However, it was undoubtedly an extremely pragmatic and effective decision. It's worth mentioning that the M777 is the newest serial artillery system developed by the British defense giant BAE Systems in the early 2000s, and that it has been used by the US Army since 2005. This makes it the most modern artillery system in the US Army. It's also worth noting that there are 3 versions of the M777. The base version with optical targeting that has since had many modernizations. The A1 has a digital firing system, added with inertial and satellite navigation. And the most advanced A2 version that can fire highly accurate M982 Excalibur rounds. It's hard to say which M777s are being used in the Ukrainian army currently. The set of 90 howitzers, sent by the US, came from the Marine Corps Reserves who use the A2 version, and from the Army who use both versions. Australia only has the A2 version, of which they sent 6, and Canada is sending the systems along with Excalibur rounds, which directly indicates which weapon was sent. Each of these M777s has the main component, a digital firing system that is analogous to the famous SPG M109A6 Paladin system. It takes responsibility for all the necessary calculations for accurate fire. As far as range goes, the 155mm artillery system has a 39 caliber barrel, letting it fire standard M107 rounds 15 miles. When using ERFB rounds with improved aerodynamics, it can fire 18.6 miles. The newest American M775 rounds can go up to 37 miles, and the highly accurate Excalibur rounds go up to 25 miles. What this range means in action can be easily illustrated by comparing it to the most common Russian artillery system, the MSTA howitzer, which has a 152mm caliber and firing range of 15 miles. This means Ukraine has a 3 to 7.5 mile range advantage, depending on which improved rounds they use. And eliminating targets with Excalibur rounds is possible with a 9.3 mile advantage, which is dominant. It's completely fair that towed artillery is less effective than self-propelled artillery. It's less maneuverable and needs extra time to set up and move to a new location. However, the Pentagon's logic to send towed weapons is sound. The US Army has just two types of 155mm systems, the M777 and the self-propelled M109A6 Paladin on tank treads. If they had chosen the latter, it would require significantly more support systems and training. It's also necessary to understand that the Paladin has lower operational mobility, and sending it significant distances like from Kherson to Donetsk would only be possible by being drug or on a railroad. The towed M777 doesn't have this problem, and is significantly more mobile from an operational perspective. Moreover, Ukraine's artillery divisions have many towed weapons, and the soldiers have an easier time upgrading from one to another. The simpler maintenance and shorter training time makes using the M777 in battle possible after just a week of express training. At least the US officially announced such a short training program back on April 19th. The M777 cost, as we know from a contract in 2008 with Canada, who ordered 37 systems, and the accompanying equipment and services, $114 million. This makes the approximate price for the M777 $3.9 million per unit. Currently, there are heavy positional battles going on since the beginning of the war from the Ukrainian side. Since Russia was able to provide a tenfold difference in power on a significantly smaller front over the Ukrainians in artillery and suppressive fire systems of varying calibers. Although this weapon is generally old, and was even in the Soviet era, nevertheless, it can cause significant damage to Ukrainian defenders. If Poland recently sent 200 highly modernized T-72 tanks, not counting the multitude of various weapons, other Western companies aren't rushing to send Ukraine heavy weapons that would let them get closer to Russia in artillery power. Of course, we shouldn't forget about Czechia and Latvia, who really know what the Russian world means, and have been sending weapons without red tape since the war began. But more often recently, there have been opinions from well-known politicians that we shouldn't get, quote, confused, and are suggesting that Ukraine give away its territory and its people. These governments are slowing the process of delivering offensive weapons. Well, that's all for today. Be sure to leave a like, comment, let me know if you learned anything new in this video, and we'll see you again next time.